Good morning. It's Friday, December 12th, National Gingerbread House Day. Hang on. If you're very good at building gingerbread houses, I think that's great for you. I'm very impressed, genuinely. But us down here on Earth, normal human beings, who decided this was a good idea? I would say just eat a candy door and get over yourself, you know? And now, the news. All right, we've got kind of like a hodgepodge of stories here. No real flow, but let's get into it. Starting with AI. On Thursday, Trump, the leader of the Republican Party, which, as you may recall, is the small government party, real big on states' rights, uncomfortably so, in fact, signed a law to block states from enforcing their own AI regulations. Quote, "We want to have one central source of approval," end quote. Okie doke, well, you haven't done anything except for make ultra-rich tech company heads super pumped. There's no, the approval is just everybody gets to do everything. Meanwhile, states like California, Colorado, and New York already have regulations around AI. So this strips those states of regulations. Not for nothing, where do you think most of the AI comes from? California created the first set of AI regulatory laws, and it's not like it sent all those companies running for the hills. So it would appear that somehow those companies are willing to be so incredibly brave and just follow the regulations. No need now, though, I guess. I can't stress this enough. All he had to do was nothing. Instead, he is now attempting to strip the states of their right to create their own regulations. This is, again, the party of small government. Something interesting about this, though, is that the federal government cannot just do this being restricting state regulations, without an act of Congress. And again, I realize that Trump loves himself a constitutional crisis, but still, you can expect that this one will head up to court. It's a party of small government and the Department of Grievances, because on Thursday, the Department of Justice tried and learned that they failed again to get a grand jury to indict New York Attorney General Tish James on a mortgage fraud case. This is the second time in 2 weeks that they have tried and failed to get past the starting line in a case against AG James. Just so we're all on the same page here. In 2016, grand juries in federal cases only declined about 16 out of 130,000 prosecutions. Grand jury indictments have a low threshold to indict, and even with that low threshold, they could not get this done. This case stems from a piece of property in Virginia that she bought in 2020. Prosecutors allege that she lied on the application in order to get more favorable loan terms, which amounted to more than $19,000 in savings. When asked for a comment, the White House said, "Please do not bother us. We are inventing other crimes to accuse her of, while we, in turn, do our own financial crimes. In the meantime, have you bought Trump's digital coin lately?" I don't know if that's still for sale or not. I don't care. I'm not going to look it up. Moving to weather on the 10s and 2s, as an atmospheric river sweeps through the Pacific Northwest, 100,000 people in western Washington have been forced to evacuate. Flooding is expected to pass the records set in 1990. A state of emergency has been declared in the area. And we're going to categorize this in, you're still the worst, but I'm going to let you do it, news. Despite the party line being every single drug is the same drug and every single drug is bad, same amount of bad, every single thing is bad, the Washington Post reported on Thursday that President Trump is planning to ease federal restrictions on marijuana early next year, making it easier to conduct pot-related medical research and even offering tax breaks for weed companies. We'll see if he actually does it or if he sees something shiny on his way to the signing pen or whatever, but in this moment, that's nice. After being wrongfully taken to a literal, by their own description, torture prison in El Salvador, despite having legal status here in America, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was sent to an ICE detention center after being brought back to America, is finally free and on house arrest while he awaits his day in court. This is great news for Abrego Garcia, as well as a reminder that there are hundreds of other men taken from here in America, men whose legal status we do not know, could be here legally, could not have been here legally, who are still in that same El Salvador torture prison, picked up simply because they are believed to be from Venezuela. They're still there in El Salvador. I realize that we are not talking about them as much, but they are still there, and we cannot forget about them. And finally, and that's called a consequence for action. Maybe next time, don't run your mouth. Or I guess don't run your little ticky-tacks on your little Truth Social website. News. Indiana state senators with a Republican majority, these are Republicans, voted down a bill on Thursday that would have gerrymandered the state so much that the 2 Democratic districts in the state would have flipped red. This was a request of the president. He asked them to gerrymander the state and get rid of those 2 Democratic districts. And then they voted on it, and it failed. And it didn't just fail like a little bit. It failed 31-19. Despite saying that he barely even cared about it at all, and what even is an Indiana anyway, the administration had Veep Vance meet with Republican senators 3 times to try and get this deal done. And it almost worked. It nearly crossed the finish line. It was like almost done. What stopped this bill from making it all the way? What prevented Indiana from becoming yet another state gerrymandered at the request of the president? Last week, the president of the United States, who is also just a human being, not one of our best, in this world, who has to exist with other human beings in this world, so called Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, the R slur. Part of the reason that it did not pass is because one of these state senators was so rightfully appalled by Trump's comments that he could not imagine, said that he absolutely would not vote for these gerrymandered maps. Quote, "This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority." End quote. Actions and words have consequences. And it might take a while, and we certainly don't need to forgive or forget everything these people did just because they made one good decision. However, when someone makes the right choice, it should be rewarded. And this was the right choice. Well done, Indiana. Now, and hear me out, would you like to consider voting for Democrats instead? We really don't like that word at all. We condemned it immediately. We would never elevate someone who just casually drops it. Just a thought, something to consider for your future voting votes. And that's it. That's the news. I'm proud of, hear me out, Indiana State Senate Republicans. For the moment, until they prove me wrong. Again, they haven't done everything right. I'm not going to forgive or forget every single thing they've ever done, but we should reward good behavior. It should be encouraged, in fact, because, good behavior begets good behavior. Also, professional gingerbread housemakers. But more than gingerbread housemakers, because you deserve to eat all the candy in the world, and none of it should have to come from a roof. And because of that, I'm proud of you.